Welcome to Italy. Welcome to a little comparison test between the V2S and the older 955 Panigale. Now, can you imagine this conversation in Bologna, about an hour away over there? We've built a Panigale 955. How are we going to make it better? How about if we give it less power? Seriously? Give it less power and less torque? Are you crazy? But somebody at Ducati put their hand up. Somebody at Ducati was brave and said, yeah, we'll give it less power and less torque, but we'll also make it lighter. 17 kilograms lighter, which is an incredible achievement. For somebody as old as me, I remember when sports bikes like the GSXR 1100, the FZR 1000, all the big guys were going big guns, producing big power. And then somebody at Honda said, why don't produce like a lighter, smaller bike that's easy to ride called a Fireblade? And that bike ended up being legendary. So it's not a new thing to produce a bike that's lighter with less power than the competition or than the previous model. But it's a brave decision by Ducati to make a bike that's 35 horsepower less. Now, I'm fortunate enough to have already ridden the V2S on 2 different tracks. And I really like it on track. It's accessible, it's usable, it's really fun. You can really push the limit because it doesn't feel like it's overriding you. But I've also ridden the 955 on track. And I really like that as well. It's a great bike and I still think it looks good today, despite the fact that it's now 4 to 5 years old. In terms of facts and figures, we're 35 horsepower down, but 17 kilograms lighter. How Ducati have managed to save 17 kilograms is incredible. The engine alone is over 9 kilograms lighter in the V2S than the 955. What were they building the old engine out of? It's incredible to save that much weight. But this was a test that I was really looking forward to because I wanted to test a bike where the power is less than the previous one. So this morning we started off on the trusty 955, and to be honest, it reminded me of the bike that I love and the bike that I've really enjoyed riding on track. It's got quite low bars, it feels a little bit radical, it still looks good. I remember the old switch gear where you have to press the mode button. I remember those kind of pretty bland by modern standard clucks. I remember the foot pegs being quite high. I remember that cooking feeling you get from that reverse exhaust that just melts the inner thighs at the back in traffic. But the fueling is pretty good, the power's good, the torque's good, the quick shifter is relatively smooth. You get a nice little grunt of power, you get a bit of character, you get a bit of feeling. It feels like you're riding a race bike on the road. And for many, that's kind of, I think, what they want from a Panigale on the road. And I didn't think the difference was going to be that much because when you look at the stats, in terms of ergonomics and body position, it's not massive. The seat height is nearly the same, bar position is a little bit more relaxed. But when you jump on the V2S, it's so user-friendly. The bars feel much higher, the screen is bigger, the bodywork is wider, the seating position is roomier, it's more comfortable. I'm not hunched over, almost breaking my wrists in traffic. For some reason, because they're both V-twins, the V2S isn't trying to cook my testicles in traffic where the old bike still is. The fueling I thought was actually pretty good on the old bike, but this is absolutely silky smooth. The quick shifter, how it works is just on point, it's just perfect. The 955's doing really well, it's like 8 out of 10 in many places. But the new V2S is 9 and 10 out of 10. Just how smooth and usable it is. And then when you get away from the traffic and you get up into these hills, which have not got the perfect surface by any stretch of the imagination, The V2S is so much easier to ride. It's not just the lightness through the twists. It's not just the way you can throw it on its side and have fun. It's also about how the all-in suspension on the S works. It's plusher, it's softer, it's more forgiving, it gives more feel. We've fitted both bikes with the same tyres, so there's no excuses. But it's so much easier to ride a road I don't know faster on the V2S than it is on the 955. On the older Panigale, it's a little bit harsh. It feels like I'm forcing a sports bike to ride on really bumpy, uneven roads that it doesn't really want to do. It doesn't turn as easy as the V2S. There was a little section where I managed to stretch its legs and got to the upper end of the revs. And then when you start to push towards the limits and you start braking really heavy, then it kind of comes into its own, because that's where it was designed to work. It's designed to work when you ride faster, when you start to push the limits, and on the road, frankly, to ride illegally. But when you do that, it does work. It feels like a sports bike on the road and the suspension starts to work. But you kind of have to push the limit and break into this window of where the handling works. And I think the majority of riders are going to feel a little bit intimidated and not want to push the envelope and not want to push the limit and fall into that suspension. Arguably, we can soften the suspension up. It's fully adjustable. Maybe we can wind it out a little bit and make it a little bit more plush. But it still won't take away from the fact that the fueling's a little bit harsher and the riding position's a little bit more aggressive. The V2S is just a joy to ride on the road. It's such a great road sports bike. I think on track it'll be interesting. Ducati themselves said when they tested in Vallelunga that the new bike was slightly slower than the older bike. And I think it all depends on the track and it all depends on the level of rider. I think if we took medium group track day riders, they would go faster on the V2S at a typical track in the UK, like Cadwell or Rulton Park, that's challenging and hard to ride without massive straights. If we had expert riders and we were at Mugello or Silverstone, then I still think they'd go faster on the old bike, because you can't beat cubes, you can't beat that horsepower. In terms of rider aids and sophistication, also there is a difference. I didn't think there would be that much difference, but you can feel the traction kicking in from time to time on the old bike, where it's much, much smoother on the V2S. Braking is actually fairly similar. The only difference is you have a little bit more feel on the V2S because the forks are just a little bit plushy and you have a little bit more feel, but the brakes are really strong on the 955. Now don't get me wrong, if you own a Panigale 955, please don't hunt me down and try and kill me. I think it's a brilliant bike. I really enjoyed riding it, and if I hadn't ridden the V2S, I'd have spent all day on the Panigale 955 with my testicles on fire, loving it. It is a great bike, and if Ducati invited me to go ride any track in Italy on a 955, I would snap their arm off. It's still a great bike. But for the majority of riders who ride on the road, they're going to go quicker, safer and smoother with more enjoyment and more fun on the V2S. If you've got a 955, just stay with it. You'll love it. Happy, no worries. However, if you're tempted and you go down to your local Ducati dealership and you take a V2S out for a road, the difference is significant. You're really going to feel the lightness. You're really going to feel the difference in how easy it is to ride. So it comes with a little word of warning. If you're a Panigale 955 owner and you're tempted for a V2S, if you take one for a test ride, take your credit card with you. It's been a really interesting test. I'm glad that we've done it because I didn't think the difference would be that big. But to ride that on the road, it's considerably easier, more agile and more fun and more enjoyable, especially on the roads we've had here in Italy. So if you want to know any more technical questions, you want to know exact weights and exact weight balance and a few more other details like price, then start a conversation below. I'll be more than happy to get back to you. If it's not me, it'll be one of the team. Always click subscribe, and the next time you see me, we're going to have a V2S on track with the full Termi pipe. So that's 4.5 kilograms lighter, 6 to 7 horsepower more, and a soundtrack that you will adore. So next time you see me, I'll be sweaty wearing a dead cow. See you on the next one.